Hi, this is Mr. Jodrick and my buddy Alex here, and we're going to be reviewing the first chapter of Choujin X manga. This is our second time giving a recording because we messed up the first, but that's alright. Both of us here are in the Choujin X Discord, which there will be a link in the description. So yeah, Alex, thank you for being here.
Of course, happy to be here.
So what's your experience with anime and Tokyo Ghoul, because I believe we both have some.
Right. With anime, I've been watching anime for, I think, a little under 10 years. And yeah, I've loved Ishida's work from Tokyo Ghoul, from his Hunter x Hunter Hisoka story he did a while ago. And now Choujin X is looking to be a really promising series.
Yeah, I agree. I only watched the anime. I did dabble a little bit in the Tokyo Ghoul manga. His artwork is beautiful. He's really great at telling stories, and the new manga Choujin X definitely shows that.
Right, of course.
So, what were your initial impressions on the first chapter?
From the first chapter, we don't really get to see too much of the story and the world building. Of course, it's only the first chapter, but from what I've seen, if it's anything like Ishida's past work, this has a very strong potential to be a really cool series. Just from, like you said, the artwork from the world building just in the first chapter is really interesting. It really leaves you wanting more. And yeah, this is just shaping up to be a really interesting addition to the Ishida series.
I agree. He had a very interesting first way of starting the manga with the plane scene. This is a spoiler review, by the way, for everyone watching or listening. So yeah, be prepared for this whole entire chapter to be discussed. For me, the interesting part of the first chapter was how we have this perspective of this girl, and it's kind of a misdirect because we don't know what the story's going to be about, who it's going to follow, and then after the guy showcases his Choujin firepower, it was just a misdirect and a interesting way of showing what Choujin are and what they can do in a way.
Right, because it really does kind of set you up for the tone of the series, where you have this like really gruesome, really dark start right at the beginning, and then you're just like kind of a very sudden cut to the introduction of the main character, Tokyo.
Yeah, Tokyo is interesting. I think he draws a little bit of Kaneki, how, especially later on in the chapter when he gets his bestial Choujin powers, he has that one-eyed plague doctor-ish mask similar to Kaneki's Kajuka with the centipede.
Right. And we also know that mask played a very big role in Tokyo Ghoul, and I'd really like to see if that carries on to the series as well.
Yeah, he could be the only one, or they could be a recurring theme. We didn't see any other Choujin with masks, so it could be unique to him and possibly just a throwback, or has to do with the deeper themes of Tokyo and his connection to, buzzards? Yeah,
buzzards and like vultures. Really throughout the first chapter, just kind of the general motif of birds in general kind of seems to play a major role. In terms of symbolism, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, for a few things, one, I think the one that stood out to me the most is that the Flexi Chosen Johnny, his movements, his kind of abilities, and his characteristics very much resemble something snake-like. And we see towards the end of the chapter how Tokyo kind of ends up defeating him, and this kind of resembles the symbolism of the eagle and the snake, which I don't know if you know the symbolism behind that, but it resembles a great change coming, which is very obvious that Tokyo and even Azuma's life is going to be changed completely after this chapter.
Yeah, it's interesting because we see how they got their powers through the serum, and I have a little idea on that. I think that the serum could be a mirror to the Captain America Super Soldier serum from the Marvel Universe. For example, when Tokyo takes it, it kind of pulls out his inner thoughts and desires of what he wants to become. Because in the chapter it says that the buzzard flies higher than any other bird, so for him it could be an example of him flying higher than other Choujin in terms of ability. It also kind of did this with the Flexi Choujin, who had broken arms before, and his motivation was was he wanted to get revenge on Azuma for breaking his arms. So when he gets the injection, it took those desires of wanting to get payback to bring it out into new ways of using his arms.
It's going to be a recurring theme throughout the series, where motivation plays kind of what abilities and the Choujin get when they take the serum. I think that's going to be a really interesting, I guess, kind of novelty or gimmick to this power system that I don't think we've seen before in any battle anime or shonen anime.
Something I just thought of, a bit of a stretch, but if we're taking it back to the Marvel, who's a popular Marvel character who can stretch? Mr. Fantastic.
That would connect anyway. That'd be interesting because you mentioned Captain America before. And I don't know if you've watched the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I also drew a parallel to John Walker and Azuma. You know, seeing how in the beginning of the chapter we see Azuma being a very tough, very capable young man, and but just like John Walker. But as soon as he, encounters somebody who has this superhuman strength, he decides to take the serum himself as a way to be on par with the Choujin.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, I definitely see that. I did watch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Azuma is an interesting one because we don't know what exactly happens to him after taking the serum. You kind of see him. You see a panel of him, I think, but it's not a main focus. Tokyo's the main focus after they get him the serum. So I definitely agree with that connection between them because Tokyo's inspiration to take the serum is because he wanted to walk on the same level as Azuma is normally. And so now that they've both taken it, it'll probably level them out to be around the same area because Tokyo himself is this character who kind of is resembled to be in his shadow, and that's part of his motivation, which draws also back to Kaneki. Kaneki took a long time to go from the quiet character into I'm making decisions, I'm doing this. But Tokyo broke that mold sooner in the first chapter versus Kaneki, who took way longer.
It's really interesting to see what's going to happen with Azuma in the next chapter because as of the last page, we don't really know what's going on with him. It could be multiple things. Of either he just had a bad reaction to the serum, or if he died from taking the serum, or died before he could take the serum. We don't really know what's going on. And it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out through the rest of the series.
I hope he's not dead, because I'd like to see the two of them kicking butt together, and it would be interesting to see their friendship evolve. But we could also see something like the John Walker, where the power gets to his head and starts to turn him dark.
Right. Because the way the first chapter kind of sets it up, I believe from just my general anime experience, that at some point there's going to be a kind of tension between Tokyo and Azuma, where they might have a difference in ideals or moral choices that they have to make.
Yeah, that definitely can be. I can see that because Tokyo makes comments on he went too hard on Johnny and broke his arms. He makes that comment, and not only that, but the two of them, they might be good friends, but their friendship started because Tokyo was being protected by Azuma, and he might harbor some kind of grudge, or not grudge, but usually in anime like this, that gives the characters a little bit of a stressful dynamic, and it would be kind of boring if they were just a stagnant good friends. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but it could spice up the story a bit more if they had some conflict.
Of course. We love drama. Yeah, but that's an interesting point you make about what did you say?
The Azuma becoming dark, possibly?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, because we see even with Johnny on page 50 that when he's like killing his two, I think they're kind of like grunts, little like sidemen. That he wasn't like this crazy before. He's kind of like like I said, like, we want you to go back to your kind of naughty mama boy self. But so we don't know if it kind of turned to evil is based off the serum or based off the power trip that he has now. You know?
Yeah, it's a common theme in fiction where when you get power, if you're not this righteous guy, it can really go to your head fast. For example, in the original Infinity Gauntlet series with Thanos, he got all the the Infinity Stones, and it started making him crazy with power. And I know that's totally different, and I keep drawing back to Marvel, and I apologize for the people out there who don't like Marvel, but it's definitely a common theme of power corrupting.
Right. So I'm interested because if it's the former where the serum has an effect on your mental state, then it'd be really interesting to see how that's going to play into Tokyo and Azuma's character development going forward.
Yeah, I don't know what the serum could draw that conflict out between the two of them, because now that Tokyo has the power that he wants, he could be wanting to challenge Azuma for more acceptance or just to prove that he's better, or it could just be stagnant and he's like, yes, I've finally done it. I am the protagonist.
Because one thing that'd be interesting is that if Azuma maybe not dies, but if is kind of injured or doesn't want to use the Choujin power, that we could see the role reversal of, Tokyo being Azuma's shadows, and now Azuma has to take the back seat and let Tokyo shine.
I like that. That's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I noticed about the manga, in Tokyo Ghoul there was a distinct use of flowers, and in Choujin X we have a small hint of that with the dandelion, I believe it was a dandelion, being blown in the wind as they took the injection, signaling to me of Tokyo's dream to be on the same footing with Azuma coming true.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good observation. I didn't pick up on that when I first read through it. Yeah, because one thing I love about literature, and this chapter is chock full of it, is kind of that symbolism or those motifs that they keep drawing to. Like I mentioned before, I briefly mentioned the bird motif, and then you brought that flower connection from the dandelion to Tokyo Ghoul, which could be really interesting if they decide to play into that.
Yeah, I think that Ishida is really good at doing the deeper meanings in stories, and it's not just surface level, what you see is what you get, which is with just some shonen. Like, I love Dragon Ball. It does have some deeper meanings, but it's one of those where really it's just a bunch of guys punching each other for different reasons. Tokyo Ghoul was never just fighting just because. There was reasons, there was conflicts, there was motivation and deeper meaning.
Right. There was always some critique on politics or just general, real-life counterparts that you could draw from Tokyo Ghoul.
Yeah. Choujin X seems to be interesting with the way they're dealing with Choujins, because as in Tokyo Ghoul, the ghouls have always been there in the background of society. Choujins, it didn't say that they've always been there, but it's something that the public is generally aware of, and they're commenting on it being bad. So having some good Choujins could either open us up to seeing more of that, or have something new in that world.
Right, because we don't Tokyo Ghoul how they reacted to the quote-unquote good ghouls.
Yeah.
Because, we see this in when we first meet Tokyo and Azuma, is how they have a very distinct hate for Choujin, and how they kind of wish that they'd be do better with the power they have.
Yeah, another example is when they go to the crashed plane site from the initial opening of the manga, and they're discussing how many people made it out, and they said it was 200, and that's, I don't know how many a typical plane holds, but it sounds like a good majority of them survived, but there could have been some that didn't.
It's interesting that you say that. I actually did take notes on this when I was doing my notes for this podcast. So the average plane, basing it off the Boeing 787, which is the standard commercial aircraft for Japan, the capacity is 291. So roughly 90 people died from this attack.
Yeah, well, that's also taking into account whether the plane was at full capacity.
That's fair. But basing that if it is, so about 90 people died, and not including the Choujin. So that could mean anything from the people he directly killed and the people who died from the initial crash.
Yeah,
But
because I don't remember the manga exactly how it looked, but the plane didn't look to be horribly banged up. It looked like it was in some kind of salvageable condition. It didn't look like there was wings or huge destruction.
right, so that kind of you can see on page 38 that really only the front part is kind of messed up. Well, the front like seating part is kind of messed up. Like you said, like it's pretty much salvageable. Um, but so that leads me to believe one of two things: either one, this is kind of more a lower level Choujin, because he does say he's like on a gig, so he's obviously not like a higher up. He's being paid to do this. Or two, his goal wasn't to kill people; it was something else. He says he's trying to make his way past, wherever, but we don't know what his initial plans were for this attack.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if they bring the plane back into the story later, as if we get to see that character, or was this just really what it was as a starting point to introduce us?
Right, and I'm not mad at either. I think it'd be cool if we could revisit this character and we would find out his motivation, but I don't think it's necessarily needed,
I'm wondering, small spoilers for Attack on Titan, but I'm wondering if the serum is made in a certain way, similar to how in Attack on Titan it is the spinal fluid of Zeke, is it, I believe? Or is it a naturally occurring thing, like in Black Panther with the fruit that they consume, or is it something that they have to manufacture?
Right. That could be. I'm sure we'll find that out eventually, but that's a really interesting thought that I actually didn't have.
Yeah,
I never even bothered to question it.
Yeah, I'm kind of diving in a little deeper than... We're not anywhere near this. This is just beginning, and as I believe that Ishida is going to be taking his time with this one, so we probably won't find out for a while, so...
Yeah, which is fun, because I know Tokyo Ghoul, he was really burnt out trying to meet deadlines and stuff.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad he's taking this a little lighter.
Yeah, hopefully fans won't get on his case about pushing it out, because it's always... I'd rather quality over quantity, and big companies aren't like that. Like, they always want to push it out, make the money, which is... I understand you need to... It's a business, you need to do that, but I feel like the longer he takes, the more thought out and drawn out it would be, and his art style is just beautiful as it is. You don't want him getting sloppy. I'm not saying he will be sloppy. I love the way he draws. He's got really good landscapes and expressions on his characters. So,
yeah, of course. I 100% agree with you there.
Cool. I don't think I have many other talking points. If you have anything you want to mention.
No, I've said everything I think I needed to say. I think that everything I've already said before. This is shaping up to be a really cool series that I'm really excited to see more of.
I agree. Well, thank you for being on here, and I hopefully will be back for Chapter 2.
Yeah, of course. Happy to help.